Well, hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to Bootcamp. Super excited to be here with all of you today. We have a really great session for y'all. We're going to be diving into onboarding and meetings that build momentum, just as the slide says there. But before we get into all of that, just a quick introduction for you guys. My name is Ian, part of the coaching team here at Nitrogen, and today I'm joined by Stephanie, my amazing teammate Stephanie. How you doing today, Stephanie?
Hey, Ian, doing well. Excited to be here and present all the good things and have everybody join us today.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for today's session, we'll go ahead and get on into a few things here. You may have noticed that the session is muted. The lines are muted when you jump in, but that's just so that we can focus on the topic at hand. That said, we love to interact with you guys and we would love to get your questions. So feel free to jump into the Zoom box, that Q&A box in your Zoom window to submit those questions. And then also use that chat. If you want to drop us a comment, feel free to jump in the chat and interact with us there as well. And then we will have a end of session poll towards the end of our session here where we'll just capture some feedback from you guys. We'd love if you could engage with that as well. And then for resources, jump into that more tab or that resource tab where you'll see some help resources for you guys for today's session, some links on these workflows that we'll be talking about, some more information that will help you continuing on after today's session. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into what we're going to be talking about today. So today is all about how you can engage with those prospects, document that risk tolerance, and create those clear proposals. We're going to be really talking about how you can go from getting that first yes to building that relationship momentum. And so we'll round out the session with some pro tips and then of course Q&A. We want to get those questions like I mentioned before, drop them in that Q&A box and we will have a live Q&A session at the end here. So just to frame things up here for you guys, before I pass things over to Stephanie, like I said, today is all about shifting that perception of onboarding from paperwork into that relationship momentum, right? So a lot of advisors feel strong, feel confident about getting that first yes, making that first yes, but less confident about what happens immediately after that. And especially in nitrogen, we want to equip you guys with what are those next steps? What are those key actions that you can take with clients to make sure that we have a confident road forward and that those first 90 days are solid, right? Those first 90 days of a relationship often determine that long-term trust, that confidence, and ultimately client retention. So today's focus is not just about an operational checklist, but how onboarding and meetings create that momentum with clients and how we can talk about certain things in nitrogen with your clients. So just one last sort of framing up piece here. Onboarding just isn't about that administrative phase. It's not those administration pieces only, but the foundation of a relationship with your clients. So, Stephanie, with that, I'll pass it over to you for our framework here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to set the stage a little bit and go through a few things to think about before we dive into the product. But one of those being that kind of early relationship with prospects, bringing them on into clients. Whether you think about it or not, after saying yes, after a client says yes to working with you as their advisor, a lot of times clients experience anxiety or second guessing, like, did I make the right choice? Am I going in the right direction? Things like that. And that's just natural. It happens, even after we make like big purchases or other big life decisions, there's always that little bit of uncertainty. So in those early stages of a relationship, it's really about being aware of what can be going on under the surface, that uncertainty, making sure you start as the advisor and keep momentum and making sure that you help set expectations properly as you're going through. So that really helps kind of lay that foundation for good client onboarding and helps you keep the momentum moving forward. So good client onboarding, if you're imagining it, should really accelerate your client and prospect relationships and help them feel reassured, aligned with the plan and help them know that they can trust you in what you're doing, what you're recommending. And being able to implement different areas of nitrogen really comes into play to help create those visuals and lay that foundation of alignment and trust building. So that's really, really helpful. So we'll go into the product in a few minutes to talk about some workflows that can help with that. So when it comes to onboarding, we want to remember that confidence beats comprehension. Obviously, clients aren't going to know everything. They don't necessarily need to know everything or want to know everything. They want to feel confident in coming on board with you as their advisor, knowing that they can feel secure and aligned and knowledgeable about the plan moving forward. So you're helping lay that foundation of confidence and helping them understand that this is an ongoing conversation. This isn't just kind of one and done, and then we don't talk about risk anymore in the future. This is creating that common language with clients. And one thing that you can imagine in sort of like a workflow, as it were, is everything centering around that risk number. That's one of those common language components that you're going to incorporate by using nitrogen. And so when you have leads and prospects come in, you conduct your meetings with them, you'll be better prepared to have those conversations and know what to talk about and when. You bring them on board, they say, yes, I want to be your clients, and then you have laid that foundation and began to educate your clients on what meetings will look like moving forward so that you can nurture those relationships and then eventually turn many of your clients into referral champions. So that's the goal here with using nitrogen. So now we're going to jump into the actual platform and walk you through some key workflows that can really help support confident onboarding without all of the heavy administration and operations and things like that. But I do want you to be thinking about for you and your firm, where does onboarding feel hardest today? Is it setting expectations, creating client confidence early on, structuring meetings, or following through, maybe even after you've met with clients and they've agreed to come on board with you? So think through that. And then maybe through today's session, you can see some areas where you can improve one of those areas where you feel like onboarding is a struggle for you. So we'll dive into the platform. And with that, Ian, I will kick it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. I just want to sort of reiterate a point that I really like that you brought up, Stephanie, is the point about having sort of buyer's remorse, right? Like being confident is so important. And we'll get into in just a moment here the risk number and how that builds confidence and builds that foundation. But yeah, you even with having a relationship with someone like a financial advisor, you absolutely can experience something like buyer's remorse, right? Am I having doubts over this relationship? Am I going the right path? Am I on the right path? Am I making the right choices here? So having that shared common language with your clients is immensely important. It's going to allow you to have conversations not only about their risk tolerance, but just in general about where they're going, that road to retirement, right? As we're in our accumulation phase, maybe as a client, how are things looking? Are we on track? And it gives them a better understanding of what their portfolio looks like, what components inside of nitrogen look like their retirement map, and just reporting in general. It gives them a better understanding overall. So, with that, let's jump into a client here because we're going to take a look at a client that we mostly have built out already. But the first thing we want to talk about is that risk number. So for Michael Andrews here, you'll see that we have captured a risk number in that top left. Michael has told us that he is at a risk number 54. That means he's gone through that risk questionnaire. He's answered all of those questions. And he's told us exactly where he wants to be as a client and what he's comfortable with. So that risk questionnaire is really the foundation of the onboarding. It reinforces that shared language. And I will call out here too, really quick, in terms of like having this be more of a scaled process. As the advisor, this is a really good workflow or tool or area that your assistants can jump in and help with. If they have an assistance license, they can come in here, send out those risk questionnaires. And then when a client comes in and responds to them, you could be the one that confirms the results, or the assistant can, either way. So depending on your guys' workflows, just wanted to call that out there. But the risk number here, you'll see we've captured that for Michael. He's a risk number 54. If we click on the risk assessment, I always like calling this out, you're going to be able to see as the advisor, even if your assistant came in here and confirmed the results, you'll be later on be able to come in here and say, okay, Michael Andrews is at a risk number 54. He left me some financial goals, maybe some notes in here. Here's how he answered everything. And this could be a place that you jump in and review with Michael during a meeting here. So absolutely great place to start. The risk questionnaire is going to be the I would say probably the powerhouse in terms of onboarding, right? Because you're going to engage with clients in that conversation or prospects and provide prospects with value right out of the gate, giving them their risk number, right? Everyone has a risk number. What is yours? They'll have the opportunity to get some information about themselves and feel empowered with that risk number moving forward. So that's the risk number. Stephanie, anything you want to add there on the risk number itself?
Yeah, sure. I know there's lots of different ways that we hear advisors presenting the risk questionnaire to their clients. So kind of pinpoint what feels right for you. I know a lot of times advisors we hear will introduce this to, let's say, prospects if you're in the sort of initial phases of bringing on a new client. Say, hey, we have a tool that's going to help us work together and engage together and find your personal risk tolerance. So then I, as your advisor, can make sure that I'm lining up your investments with where you want to be in terms of risk. So there's lots of ways to kind of present it. I want to mention really quickly in the Help Center, if you come in here and search for risk assessment or client meetings, we have a couple of playbooks that walk you through how to either use the risk assessment and talk about it with clients, or how to run like those effective client meetings and introduce these different components. So we'll try and sprinkle in a couple of tips and how to introduce and talk about these concepts with clients. But if you want to dig a little bit deeper, definitely jump into the Help Center.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I think the next piece here is going to be proposals, right, Stephanie? Did you want to walk us? Oh, sorry. Did you want to walk us through that proposal piece?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about proposals really quickly. So if you're thinking about framing that onboarding, maybe this is a first meeting, maybe this is a second meeting with somebody in your client onboarding process, and you've already pinpointed how much risk they want to be taking, whether or not you've captured their current investments. Like in this example, we did the work ahead of time to capture their current portfolio. You can bring that over through an integration. If it's a prospect, maybe they send you statements and you bring it in via AI statement capture by uploading a PDF file into Nitrogen. That's always an option there as well. But whether or not you analyze their current investments, as long as you know that risk level where they want to be, you can come in and build a proposal and make a recommendation for how you can help them invest. So again, this is all about creating confidence right out of the gate and helping clients, new clients understand and have those expectations for, okay, how much risk am I actually taking? What does this all mean? What is this going to mean over the next several weeks and months? So you can come in here. In this example, we've added a model. So that's another really great streamlined way. If your firm uses models, you'll notice at the top of Nitrogen, there's a models section. But when you come in here and add an account or create a fresh proposal draft, you can come in here and copy a model. Again, that Help Center has step-by-step guides. If you just search like copy a model or anything like that, we've got some step-by-step guides where you can go in and practice how to create these proposals, but we've really tried to make it step by step in the product. So that way, when you're sitting down with, let's say, a prospect, and you're wanting to take away a lot of their initial doubts, you can say, hey, based on that exercise we went through together to pinpoint your risk number, I've put together this recommendation. Here are the investments I'm recommending. And here's where it comes in on that range of the risk number scale. So imagine it's a speed limit. We're both, in the car, you the advisor, you're sort of the passenger navigator, you're helping your client navigate on their road to retirement. So you can talk with prospects and say, hey, I've got you at a portfolio that would be around a risk 55. That means over the next 6 months, you can expect to see this kind of fluctuation in your portfolio. And that's where we can begin to point to the 95% historical range. Now, for your knowledge, this is based on many years of past performance for individual securities. We're calculating like that standard deviation curve here. But for clients and prospects, you can present it as this is the kind of fluctuation you can see in your portfolio based on the risk level where we've placed you. So again, it's expectation setting. You're helping them understand what to expect over time 95% of the time. So here's what's normal. And then we have other tools like stress tests and scenarios if you want to dive into things of, financial situations that we can't always quantify. But we have a few other basic analytics that you can always review with clients, talking with them about proposal cost, asset class breakdown, what's, their kind of stock and bond split at a high level, and other things like portfolio efficiency with the riskalized GPA, dividends, annual range midpoints, things of that nature. So if you have any questions on those, of course, be dropping them in the Q&A box down at the bottom as we're going along, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. But this is the proposal area where you can make those recommendations and really focus on clarity. Don't get like too detailed with clients unless they're the kind of client or prospect that appreciates a deep level of detail. So you don't have to make it too complicated, but you can show them what you're recommending and why, how it aligns with where they want to be in terms of risk. And then you can move on into, reporting and other documentation and things like that. So, Ian, if you want to walk us through maybe some reports, we can jump into those.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever we're ready to get to providing deliverables to either a prospect or a client, there's two ways that you can access reporting inside Nitrogen. Typically, what I recommend is jumping into the Create Report button in the top right of the client profile, but you can always start at the Reports tab on your header there as well. I like to jump in from the client profile because it's going to retain all this information on the screen and then push that into whatever report you're creating, and you won't have to manually select that. But inside Reports Builder, what you'll be greeted with essentially are a few report templates, default report templates here from Nitrogen. And this is where you can start. You can start here and then build out from those templates and then even save those templates for later on. So that's a really important piece here, I think, because we allow you to create your own custom templates. It can be a really powerful way to scale this out, make it repeatable in your onboarding process. So here we have our snapshot report. Say we want to use this. This is our simplest report. It is a one-pager essentially with risk tolerance information, asset class data, that 95% historical range that Stephanie mentioned, and even our retirement map is on here. But maybe we wanted to have this as our first page and add in some extra detail here. We could come in on the left-hand side and click on each one of these elements essentially to add them into the report. So maybe we want to add in just the stress test here and make it our own sort of template, our own report for maybe this is for our prospects or even our current clients. We could then come up to the top, generate that report on the right-hand side, add a comparison before we generate it. We could even do that there. But the awesome part here is now at the very top of your screen, you'll see that unsaved change tag there, that yellow tag, basically saying, hey, you've created something new here. Do you want to save this as a template to reuse next time? So say you did create something that you really like here, and you want to save it for next time you do jump into Reports Builder, this template will be ready for you to use. So as a best practice, we see a lot of advisors will create templates for different segments of clients. So maybe this is for our prospects that we'll use every single time. Maybe we have something for our current clients, or maybe we have separate reports, different report templates for different segments within our book of business. So de just really depends on you and in your practice, but just know that you can come in here, create those custom templates, and they're all super clean deliverables. So once you click the generate report in the top right, it's going to create that PDF for you that you can then download, print off, or email directly to your clients. So reports, I mean, pretty straightforward, pretty simple, but powerful all the same. So definitely jump in there, create those reports, and create those templates as well. That way you have a repeatable process in this onboarding cadence for yourself. So anything I missed there, Stephanie? I know we want to talk about Meeting Center here, so I can jump into that too. But anything I missed on reports?
Yeah, I was going to add a pro tip for reports. I've worked with a couple of advisors who will go through and add like all of the elements on the left-hand side, just as sort of a sample. They'll generate the report and then they'll go through it and get a sense of what sections they know they want to talk about with clients or prospects, as a part of their, let's say, onboarding process. So feel free to do that. Generate yourself like a sample report right here in your reports builder. Go through the different segments. The great thing is everything in the reports also has a corresponding component inside of nitrogen. So when it comes to sort of talking through the report with a client, it's very similar. You can talk about how you would present the risk number, talk about the historical range. So begin to get familiar with the different pieces within the report, and I think you'll feel a lot more confident actually presenting that report to clients.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So the next piece here, guys, is going to be actually our meeting center. So AI Meeting Center is something that's relatively new inside Nitrogen, and this I'll mention this is an add-on to whatever existing subscription you have, but I think it fits really nicely in this theme of like onboarding shouldn't just be paperwork. It should be about that relationship momentum, right? So Meeting Center, what exactly is Meeting Center? Meeting Center is basically going to be your partner in meeting note taking, but it's not just a note taker. It's actually a whole lot more. It's going to allow you to integrate with your CRM, your Google Calendar, any calendar really that you use, and then your video conferencing as well. So like Zoom, Meets, whatever you use there, it's going to integrate with those pieces and then allow you to have a meeting note taker in these client meetings, so in these onboarding meetings or any other meetings as well. And it's going to capture it inside of Nitrogen for you. So you'll be able to see within a client here for Michael, if we go over to past meetings, that's where we would see any of those past meetings that have populated. We don't have any for Michael right now, but that's where you would see it. And then if we click over to meeting prep, this is where it becomes super powerful because not only is Meeting Center going to capture what you guys talk about inside of your meetings, so it's going to capture all those notes, those themes, recurring themes, but it's also going to leverage all of the data that's inside of Nitrogen for Michael Andrews here. So for this client or prospect, it's going to take a look at his risk tolerance information, his portfolio proposal information, and take all that into account and help you prep for your next meeting. So as you have ongoing meetings, all of this sort of builds on top of each other, and you'll have contextual history that you can lean on and create really powerful meeting agendas for the next time. So it is AI powered as well. You'll be able to come in here and prompt it. So you can prompt it in natural language and say, hey, I'm meeting with Michael Andrews soon, or maybe I don't really know what I want to talk about. And you can select some of the common topics at the bottom here, and we'll write the prompt for you. So AI Media Center, really, really cool. Seffi, if you don't mind, on the fly here, if we just push through one of these prompts, let's see what it gives us because it will put out a pretty clean, readable talking point agenda for us that we can then leverage in the meeting. And again, guys, this is using all that information from past meetings as well as the information inside Nitrogen. And you'll see here, just like that, we have a nice formatted agenda that we can walk through in the next client meeting with Michael here. So really great way to keep building, maintain, and push forward on that momentum past onboarding and have all those past conversations build on each other, right? So that is AI Meeting Center. I know we have a few more things to cover here, Stephanie, so I'll keep us moving, but if there's anything you want to add there, absolutely feel free to.
Yeah, no, we can definitely dive into the next section. Yeah, it's really exciting, these AI meeting components to help you review past meetings and prep
Yeah,
for that ongoing engagement.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. I'll take us in next. So when we are thinking about going into that ongoing engagement, there's a couple of tools that you can continue using in Nitrogen. So let's say you've had that initial onboarding, you've brought someone in, you've, done all of the paperwork on your side to bring over their accounts, and everything's moving and grooving from here. So you want to think about that on continuing engagement and momentum that we've sort of been speaking through to today's session. So one tool that you can use if you have our Elite or the Planning Center add-on to your subscription is the planning component. So if you want to have long-term planning conversations, we have that capability within Nitrogen. So this is a great area. You can come into the retirement map to talk with maybe newly onboarded clients, or maybe clients that you met with, 6 months ago or a year ago, whatever it might be, to continue those conversations around here's how we're approaching retirement. Let's talk about your long-term goals, income, expenses. There's a lot that you can layer in here. So this is the planning capabilities, that long-term planning that you have, where you can come in and talk about income. So this is a great area. Again, we're just going to kind of show it off today, high level, but definitely jump into the help center and experiment with kind of building this out if you see this component in your subscription today. And then one other tool that I want to mention for ongoing client engagement, really nurturing those clients and turning them into referral champions, is our check-ins tool. So if I go up here to my clients tab and navigate to check-ins, this is where you can come in. If you enable check-ins for your active clients, so any clients that you've onboarded to your firm, you can turn on check-ins, and this is an automated message that can go out at the interval of your choosing. A lot of advisors choose every 6 months or every quarter, and it asks them, how are you feeling about the markets? And how are you feeling about your financial future? That's it. Takes about 60 seconds for the clients to answer those two questions. And then you get this really nice dashboard here. You and members of your team would have this dashboard where you can come in and see, okay, which clients are feeling happy? Do we have any folks feeling anxious or fearful? So you can come in here and sort of keep your finger on the pulse of how your clients are feeling in between meetings. And again, this is a great tool to keep that initial momentum going. It keeps the conversation lines open. And honestly, we've heard from a lot of advisors before that this helps in actually reducing the number of concerned phone calls that they get from clients week over week, because clients know the plan that you've set forth for them. They're aware of the plan, they're confident in the plan, and it takes away a lot of that doubt and fear. But in case anybody maybe has a life change or something comes up that does make them feel fearful or anxious, you'll know via this check-in tool. So that's great. Highly recommend setting that up for maybe yourself. Create yourself a profile here in Nitrogen, or get some friends and family members to be your guinea pigs if you haven't set this up yet already. Definitely check that out. But that's going to help reduce anxiety, reactive behavior, and things like that with your clients, and really help you know how they're feeling in between meetings, and continue building on that trust and reassurance that they get from you as their advisor. So with that, we'll wrap up with some resources. So Ian, I will kick it over to you.
Sounds good. We will flash up some resources for you guys here before we get into our live Q&A. So just remember, if you have questions, keep dropping them in that Q&A box there, and we'll get to them in just a moment for our Q&A here. But in terms of continuing resources, what we have available for you guys, and it's just a few next steps as well. So after today's session, what should you be focusing on? I would say standardize at least one onboarding flow, right? Focus in on one thing that you can maybe scale a little bit better, automate a little bit better, and then also create a meeting cadence. Creating a cadence for yourself can really help remove some of that pressure, some of that stress as you're prepping for those meetings, using these tools, leveraging some of these tools that we talked about today. And then introducing that risk number earlier in the conversation, as early as possible to create that common ground with you and your clients, and then improving your follow-up structure as well. So Stephanie just talked about those check-ins. Those are going to be super helpful for continued and consistent follow-ups. Now, in terms of training resources here, we have a slide for you guys up here. Stephanie called out that Help Center a few times. Absolutely jump in there. There's so many resources for you guys. If you want to jump over to nitrogenwealth.com/customers as well, that will be where our entire basically library of resources will live. You'll see some quick video guides in your Help Center. Those are great. Stephanie and me and our team have created those intentionally to be quick, bite-sized videos for you guys to engage with and learn things in real time and quickly. And then email our support team if you guys need a little bit extra help, a little bit more hand holding. I know I do. So just jump in there, reach out to our support team. They're fantastic. You can jump into the live chat or email them support@nitrogenwealth.com. And then office hours. We host office hours every single Tuesday. We'll drop a link. There we go. I can talk. I'll drop a link in chat for you guys for those office hours if you want to jump in, ask questions to us in there, and then that QR code as of course. So with that, we'll jump into really quick. Actually, we have a closing poll. So before Q&A, we're going to flash that up. Make sure that you jump in there. We would love to get some feedback from you guys on how we could improve our session here, or really just how we're doing today. So with that, we'll move into our Q&A here. So keep dropping those questions into the chat, and we'll get to those. All righty. Well, thank you all for being here with us. Like I said, let's jump into that Q&A because you guys have been asking a whole lot of questions, a lot of great questions. Want to make sure that we have time to get to all those. Before we get to those, Stephanie and I, we have a special guest joining us today. So Preston, one of our solutions consultant, is jumping on here to help us with the Q&A. Preston, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
Of course, happy to be here. I'm doing just fine, thanks. Good to see
Great,
you.
great. Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate having your expertise here today, Preston. We have a few questions, and actually, the first question I'm going to pass your way. So, the first question here comes from the Q&A. How often should I have my clients take that RQ, that risk questionnaire? How often should we review that?
Ooh, great question. I'm gonna give a fun one. Don't worry, I'll give some details, but it kind of depends, is my first
Yeah.
answer. Each advisor and firm is a little bit different in how they work with their clients. I'd say in general, as we worked with hundreds and hundreds of different firms and advisors, I'd say most common is once a year, is they'll send out that questionnaire and either do it in person with their client or just send the link to them so that they can take it on their own time. And then if they do take it on their own time, you can jump into Nitrogen. Actually, Stephanie, are you able to share your screen or are you right now? Let me check my screens here. Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
let
you.
me pull that
Or
up.
want to show how to actually go in and review a questionnaire once it's
Yeah.
complete. There's that kind of part too. But yeah, if you log in to Nitrogen and navigate to that client or prospect profile, when you click on that risk number tab there in the middle, anytime there's a completed questionnaire, you'll notice their name and that next gen risk assessment link. You can click that to review their answers. If there's, say, a household, maybe a husband and wife you're working with, you'll see multiple responses there. So you could see, hey, they're individuals, they'll have their own risk score. But yeah, that's the process for how to review. Kind of going back to your original question, once a year is probably most average, and once every 2 years is probably the least frequent that I've heard personally. But that would hopefully give you some
Awesome.
guidelines there.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We'll move on into the next question here. So, Stephanie, I'll tee this one up for you. The question was, how many years is many years? And this is going back to when we were talking about that 95% historical range, that expectation setting metric. Basically, what does our data set look like? How far are we looking back there in terms of data?
Yeah, great question. So our 95% historical range is based on data that goes back as early as 2004. So because nitrogen looks at the individual security level in every model, every proposal, every portfolio, we're going as far back as we're able to. So if securities have history, return history dating back to 2004, we're able to capture that. If they had an inception date after that, let's say 2007, 2010, 2012, what have you, we'll have whatever data is available based on their inception. So the earliest information or data that we have under the hood is 2004 to present. And what's driving this historical range is historical returns, volatility, and correlations across holdings in a portfolio. So that's kind of the time frame that we're looking at, just over 20 years.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, I'm going to move us into the next question here. I'll take this one. So, this question came in, how do I get leads into nitrogen? What tools are available for us to actually pull those leads into nitrogen? And this is sort of a multi part answer because there's a few different things that you can do. The first one, I'll keep us here inside of the client profile. So, if we go over to the portfolio tab, we can actually tap into the add account workflow where we'll see a few options there. So, just like you normally would come in here and click add account. If you click on fund stocks and other there, you're going to see a couple tools at your disposal. The first one, of course, that file import tool is a really good way to interact or get those leads, those holdings into nitrogen or prospect holdings into nitrogen. So if you have a PDF from them, you can drag and drop in there. You can also use Asset Sync. That is going to enable you to send a link to those prospects or those leads where they can then select their institution, enter their credentials. That data will then begin to flow into nitrogen. So those are some options for actually entering the data itself. Now, when it comes to capturing leads, we do have an alternate version of the risk questionnaire. You may have heard of it. It's called the lead generation questionnaire. This is a great thing that you can incorporate into like your marketing strategies, maybe putting it on your website, putting it on your social media posts. And yeah, if you go into menu and then settings there, you're going to see a setting in there called lead generation. That is where you can set up this universal link essentially and paste it, like I said, on your social media, your website, anywhere you would want to attract those leads. And when a lead clicks on that hyperlink, it's going to take them to that risk questionnaire. Now, this is a little bit different because we're going to be capturing some of their information as a lead, right? We don't have that information yet. They'll go through that risk questionnaire, pretty much all the same questions that you would normally have in that risk questionnaire. And then it's going to give them a risk number. Once they complete it, that lead information will then be captured inside nitrogen, created as a lead for you inside of your client list. So this is a really good thing to incorporate into your marketing strategies, especially if you're ramping up and using nitrogen, leaning more into that risk number methodology and all of that. Really recommend getting that set up. So lead generation questionnaire is a great one. Team, anything you want to add there on the LGQ? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you could incorporate it, but anything you want to add there before we move on?
I'll add in that we covered it. We chatted a little bit about the Legion questionnaire in Monday session for those of us who joined us in Monday's boot camp. And all the recordings, you may have gotten a recording on Monday, but all the recordings should also go out at the end of this week. So if that's helpful, definitely go check out Monday's session if you want to hear a little bit more about the lead generation questionnaire.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, I'll keep this train moving here. So next question over to you, Stephanie. We kind of chatted, mentioned integrations here a little bit, but when it comes to getting clients from the custodian, how can we get those clients into nitrogen?
Yeah, absolutely. So luckily we happen to be here in settings. So I'll just mention this really quickly. Integrations, we integrate with dozens of different tech platforms, including a lot of your most common custodial platforms. So in your settings, this integrations tab is just a list of a few. It's not comprehensive. But we highly recommend, in order to streamline your workflows, help your teams work better across like advisors and admins in Nitrogen, you can integrate or connect with a custodial platform. And then in terms of actually entering your client information, you can, from your home page, use that integration to pull in client portfolios. So it would look like just simply clicking on Add New Client. And then if you have a custodial connection here, you can click on that custodian and search for a client's first name or last name. It would pull up matching clients, and then you can click on them and then add them into Nitrogen. So the great thing with custodial integrations is it will sync over that data and keep it synced and updated for you. So you only have to make this connection once, and then it stays up to date for all of their current accounts and holdings. So super, super helpful.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you for that, Stephanie. Next question here. I'll take this one really quick because it is a good question. And really, the answer here is it's a product idea. So the question is there a way to reclassify portfolio holdings to basically whatever we think they should be? So maybe you enter a portfolio holding, it comes up as other, or maybe something you're not expecting. Can you change that? So short answer, no. Great product feedback, something that we can pass over to our team. But I will say if there is something that comes in and say it's coming in as other, or maybe just an asset class that you're not expecting for that particular security, definitely reach out to our support team. So you can go click on that little chat bubble inside of your Nitrogen account and chat with our support team. Let them know, hey, there's this security. I really think it should be this. And then we'd love to check on that for you. Just validate that information is correct. So good question, product feedback, plus definitely reach out to our team there. Moving on into the next question here. Steffi, I'm going to pass this one back over to you. So when it comes to that first page, that snapshot report that we were going over earlier, does the roadmap on the bottom or that retirement map on the bottom of that page, is that included in the subscription? Will that be part of the page, or will it stay blank? So is it part of that subscription automatically? How do we get that essentially?
Yeah, great question. Let me pull up our reports view here. So with that snapshot report, because it includes a little bit of everything, the risk number, the portfolio, a proposal if you've made one, and the retirement map. So the retirement map here, this is just kind of a sample thumbnail image that we see in our report preview. So if you don't have Planning Center as a part of your subscription, or if you've not created a retirement map for a client and you go to create this report, it should just simply exclude that portion of it. So you would have the current portfolio information, the client's risk number, and you should still be able to make that report. It just wouldn't have the retirement map section of that page. So yeah, that would be for the reports.
Awesome. Love it. While we're in reports here, another question came in regarding custom reports. So I don't know if we called this out earlier, but what does the workflow look like for creating your own custom report templates?
Yes, absolutely. And I think we might have mentioned this use case where we've seen firms create like a report template that they provide specifically to prospects or maybe new clients as a part of your client onboarding. Maybe you have a simplified report. So what we would recommend is using this element library, add the components in the report that you want. So I'm going to say, I'm in the snapshot template. I'm going to add stress test. Maybe there's something else that you want to add. You can add that in. And whenever you add one of the elements from the left on kind of a base template, it will show you that you have unsaved changes up at the top. So that means you've customized this report. And then you would simply click on Report Template Actions and then save as a report template. So highly recommend doing this if you want to have that kind of repeatable, scalable process for generating a report with just the right information that you want. You can save a report template, just build it out, save it one time. And then in your report template list, it would be up here as a custom report under my report templates. So highly recommend doing that as well.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, really quick, we had a question come in here about proposals. But before we get to that, I'm actually going to tap you in here, Preston. So we have some compliance questions coming in. I want to make sure that we address those. Regarding nitrogen, the nitrogen meetings note taker and meeting prep tool, is that approved by LPL?
Great question. And who doesn't like talking about compliance on a Wednesday afternoon? It's an important topic.
Yeah.
So short answer and then some more detail. It's not currently approved. It's in the review process right now. So our team is actively working with the LPL team. They're in a great way diligent on it. We want to make sure the tools that our advisors have access to are what fit within their framework. So long answer short, it's not currently accessible, but the team's actively working on that with LPL. And as a side note related to compliance, if for those that like talking about compliance, Nitrogen was recently certified with a certification related to AI called the ISO 42001. Kind of a tongue twister there, but basically it speaks to how does a team or how do companies work with AI and make sure there are safe guardrails in the data, how they're working with that data. There are some big names out there like Amazon, et cetera, that have that approval. And as far as we know, we think we're one of the first, if only, fintech companies to have that certification so far. Don't quote me on that, but that's potentially there. But that said, we do have that certification. That's just great intel, hopefully, for you to know as we talk about all things compliance. But Ian, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Super exciting stuff, I have to say. On the subject of compliance, here's another one relating to LPL specifically. The lead generation questionnaire that we touched on earlier, is that one approved for LPL? What do you have for us there, Preston?
Yeah, better news than the first answer. Yeah, so that one is approved. Just for kind of some how-to behind the scenes, that questionnaire is pretty much the same. It just adds in one additional question for that lead or prospect to add in their contact details. But other than that, the questionnaire itself is almost identical. But yes, it is approved, so it's great to use to engage with your target audience there.
Awesome. Thank you for the good news. We'll move on into away from compliance back into nitrogen. So, Stephanie, if you don't mind getting the screen share back up for me here, because we had a question about the optimizer tool. So, regarding proposals, would you please discuss the optimizer tool? Great question. The optimizer tool is a little bit tucked away, but you will find it inside of stats. So, if you have access to Research Center or you're on Nitrogen Elite and you have access to stats, once you click into stats, you should see this side panel pop open for you. If you don't, you can go into the right-hand side here, click on the sidebar, open it up, and you're going to see the sandbox as one of the options there. So proposal sandbox is essentially a way for you to come in, test your assumptions, test changes, see how things will impact the overall stats of a portfolio or proposal. So what this looks like in practice is you can come in here, you can remove underlying holdings from an account and reallocate them into something else. So if we were to remove like, I don't know, dealer's choice stuff. Yeah, let's reallocate 70% here, move it into something else. And we can automatically see how this is going to impact the overall risk number of this account, but also all those underlying analytics. And you can come in here, you can search just like you would inside of a proposal when you're building it out for your models. You can search for individual holdings, whatever you would like. You can come in here and change these things for the sandbox itself. Now, the sandbox, I'm bringing up sandbox here because it's kind of intertwined with the optimizer itself, in that you're going to be able to make these changes and apply them to stats and see how they look. Now, if you want to come in here and use the optimizer, you'll click on those three dots, click optimize, and this is going to open up a tool that will allow you to optimize up or down to a specific risk number. So maybe for this particular account, we're trying to target maybe a little bit higher risk number. Maybe we're trying to get Michael up to like a 65 here. Maybe that's possible with our current holdings. Maybe it's not. But what you're going to want to do is probably apply some guardrails here. So you'll see a list down here of the underlying holdings where you can say, okay, if I want to keep every single one of these holdings, I'm going to apply a minimum here, a minimum of 5% to make sure that I'm going to keep at least some of these holdings in here. And then applying a max is usually a good practice as well. You can just say, yeah, no guardrails whatsoever, let it go buck wild, and it's going to try and optimize to that risk number. Now, it's going to do this in the most efficient way possible, so it might completely remove every other holding except for one if you don't give it guardrails. But what we can do here, we can click optimize. It's going to try and give us an optimized result to that risk number 64 to see if we can get there. Now, I always like to say this. This is one of the lines that our teammate Chris likes to say. You can't bake a high volatility cake with low volatility ingredients. So just keep in mind if you have some low volatility securities in here, you're not always going to be able to optimize up. And if you have high volatility securities, you won't be able to optimize down. So just keep that in mind. It depends on the holdings here, but you can click optimize. It's going to apply those results for you. You'll see what they look like. And then you can preview those changes in stats. So whether you've removed or added holdings here, you can click at the bottom there, preview changes in stats. You could apply the changes there too if you want to keep those. And it's going to show you what everything will look like inside stats with those new applied allocations. So that's Optimizer, that's Sandbox. Again, they kind of go hand in hand, and they're a great way to jump in and test your assumptions, see how things will look without actually changing the portfolio or proposal itself. Okay, that was a little long-winded. We have a few more questions. I'm going to move us past this into the next one here. Stephanie, I'm going to pass this one over to you. So is it possible to generate a separate link for a check-in if we don't want to send it to all clients, but only a selected few?
Good question. So if I'm understanding that question correctly, it sounds like you want to select the clients who will receive check-ins. And yes, you absolutely have that control. So I would recommend coming into clients and navigating to that check-ins dashboard that we showed earlier. So from here, you can see who has it enabled, so who has it turned on. And you can select any client profile, click on their name, and it sort of opens up their information here on the right-hand side. So you can enable it or disenable it, turn it off right here from the check-ins dashboard. So this is on a per client basis. So you can select who you want to receive check-ins. Like maybe I only want these clients of mine receiving it, but you see these other clients down here are not receiving it. So if there is someone who's not getting it, you could simply click on their name and enable it. Now we might give you a heads up if they're missing like an email address or a portfolio. There are a few things that need to be in their profile in order to turn on check-ins. But you can absolutely enable that, and then that would start sending check-ins to your selected clients.
Awesome. Love it. And then next question here is Preston. I'm going to pass this one over to you. So take us back to that 95% historical range. Remember, we saw that inside of a portfolio, that expectation setting metric. The 95% historical range shows 5% on the downside on the far left. Is that correct? I assume the range would be excluding the 2.5 tails on both ends. Preston, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Totally. Great question. And Stephanie, you're quick. Thanks for already jumping in that part of the platform. So that is correct. The 5% is to the downside, slightly different from that typical 2.5% on both sides, kind of that more two-sided distribution. But that said, yes, it's the 95% confidence interval to within that range, 5% to the downside. That said, as far as talking about this with a client, that kind of next step of, hey, how we see advisors typically frame this is, hey, we're trying to predict the future. If you had a crystal ball as an advisor to say, I know what's going to happen tomorrow, you'd probably be doing really well as an advisor. But since that's just doesn't really exist, we can say, hey, 95% of the time, this is what we can expect to kind of be normal for your portfolio, upside, downside within that range. But we're trying to help one quantify, and I'm going to help manage that risk in the 95% of the times. But also we want to consider keep in mind those 5% occurrences that we can't predict or not necessarily quantify. And that's where stress test comes in. So Stephanie, if you can maybe click on that stress test button above the range, this is going to show those other events that we might call like a black swan event, AKA the events that we can't predict, but they do tend to happen in life. So the financial crisis is the COVID situation we saw in 2020 or interest rate hikes. So this is where you can come and have a great visual with your client, with percentages, with dollar amounts, and show, hey, here's what your either current portfolio, or in this case, the proposal that we're recommending for you, how it might behave in those different environments. And as you generate a report, you can even have both the current and a proposed all in one, within that same report as well. So all that to say, yes, the risk is to the downside, but then stress tests help round out that conversation for those 5% occurrences.
Awesome. Well said, Preston. Thank you for that. We have just a few more questions here, and we're coming up on time, so we'll go through them pretty quickly. Stephanie, I'll pass this one to you. So, when it comes to the lead generation questionnaire, can financial professionals publish that lead generation questionnaire in a commercial setting, like publicly displayed on third-party web pages, stuff like that? How should we think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the lead generation questionnaire is designed to use wherever, whenever, however you'd like. So the only thing you can't do, of course, is kind of take credit for like building it or developing it, but you can use it as much as you like. I know if you go to nitrogenwealth.com, we do have like terms of service. You can scroll down to the bottom and kind of learn a little bit more. That might not specifically go over the lead generation questionnaire, but yes, we made it so that you can use it anywhere. And we do always recommend as well taking the lead generation questionnaire link. If you put it on that third party website, kind of do a mock up if you want to run it by your compliance team. That's always a good practice. Say, hey, here's the questionnaire. It's from Nitrogen. Here's where I'm going to put it and how I'm going to use it. Maybe your compliance team likes to see that. But yes, it is absolutely made for you to take it and use it and bring in those leads into your account.
Absolutely. Okay, one last question here. We have about a minute and a half left. So the question is regarding check-ins. When it comes to check-ins, what can you do to set the frequency? Is it monthly, quarterly? Can they be changed all at once? Is it all or nothing? So the check-ins cadence can be changed inside of course, the check-ins dashboard on the left-hand side. You'll see that little settings cog there. You can come in here, change the frequency to whatever you like. So whether that's 6 months, quarterly, every other month, every month, you can come in there and set that. That is for the entire book of business here for everyone in the client list, but you can go into an individual client and send it immediately. So if you wanted to say go to Barbara or Sean here and say, okay, I know he's about halfway through the next check-in send, but I want to see how he's doing. Maybe I have some sort of information or something about Sean that tells me I should probably check in with him. I can come in here and click send now on the left-hand side to send that immediately, or I could even snooze it for a quarter or for a month. So maybe I don't really feel like it's necessary to check in with him right now, or the next upcoming one, I can snooze it there. So really good question. That's how you would do it inside check-ins. Stephanie, anything you want to add there?
No, yeah, you called out that it's kind of a choose one for your whole client list, which is always what I like to reinforce. So yeah, you can choose one check-in frequency, but you still have that slightly granular control of snoozing or sending one when you need it.
Absolutely. All right, that is going to wrap us up, everybody. We are about at time here. So thank you all so much for your amazing questions. Thank you for being here today. Stephanie, Preston, thank you both for helping us facilitate this awesome Q&A. And next time, we'll see you guys next time in a future session. Oh, really quick. Sessions are recorded. They will go out at the end of the week. So if you're looking for that, make sure you take a look in your inbox for those at the end of the week. And we'll see you guys in a future session.
Yeah.
Thanks,
See you
everybody.
later.